Hello, I'm Chuck Wolf, Chief Executive for Charles J. Wolf Associates, LLC. As a motivational speaker and a leadership consultant and executive coach and trainer, I often work with very successful people in their companies. Since many can't afford a professional, I volunteer to host a radio talk show called The Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, on a nonprofit community radio station in Bridgeport, Connecticut, WPKN. My reason for doing the show is to share with as many people as possible this wonderful process for helping people manage their own emotions and their relationships with others. My goal is for everyone listening to learn to use the Emotion Roadmap to make life better. As you listen to me, help others, I hope you are also learning. As a Simsbury resident, I'm delighted to be able to make the show available through Simsbury TV. To learn more, go to my website, www.emotionroadmap.com. Thank you for listening and watching.
And this is Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in today to listen, and those of you later that are watching this, you get to see this at my hometown and the local TV station. The Simsbury TV station has this radio show is now broadcast, and people can actually see this on YouTube. And really pleased with the new chapter in WPKN's history, where our talk shows are now available as podcasts on SoundCloud and iTunes and Stitcher. It's exciting times here at WPKN. So if you've been waiting to call me, the show again is the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. And this is Chuck Wolf. And why you might want to call if you're new to the show is because what the show is all about is helping you to be more in control of your own emotions. Now, sometimes you do very well controlling your own emotions, but you may have difficulty controlling or influencing other people's emotions, and we help you with that as well. The show is not about manipulating people. It's about influencing people and helping them to, to come to the find a way to make emotions work for them, have emotions work for you instead of against you. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you felt like your emotions were working against you. A number of people have gone through life feeling like emotions are things that you just have to control. They're not really something that's helpful. For those of you that are new to the show is based on this science of emotional intelligence. It's all about helping people understand what we're learning about the science of emotional intelligence and how it has an impact in our lives. If I can help you, each of you, to be smarter about how you manage your own emotions, smarter about how you influence other people's emotions, smarter about the relationships you have with other people, and how you manage those relationships, then the goals for the show are achieved, because that's what I want to do. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with some really talented psychologists who have conceived of this idea that there's another intelligence called emotional intelligence, and we all have emotional abilities, and we differ in those abilities, and those differences matter. And I want to talk a little bit about this idea of emotional abilities this morning. That is something I do want to talk about. But the basics for the show is that we allow people to call in. It's a community radio station. All the people that listen are part of our community here at WPKN, and I want to make this hour available to you. So if you've got something you've been waiting to talk to me about, and again, if you're new, why you might call is if you're somehow stuck on something going on in your life. Maybe there's a conversation that you need to have, but you haven't scheduled because you're worried about it escalating somehow, or it feels confrontational to you and you're not comfortable with dealing with conflict. Or perhaps you have a situation that you don't know whether to pursue or not. You're kind of stuck about whether or not maybe you should get a resume together because you're hearing some rumors about what's going on in your company, and you're unclear about whether that feels disloyal to you. And that feeling of disloyalty, especially if you've got a good boss and somebody you really trust and respect, you feel like, wow, I don't want to do that to that person. But then you're feeling like, yeah, but I have a responsibility to my family at the same time, or to myself, just to stay employed. I mean, as much as I like my boss, if we really are going to go through a merger and my job might be threatened, I got to take care of me. Or maybe you're engaged in helping somebody big time, and it's taking all kinds of your time, and you feel like you want to help them, and they're and maybe a friend or a family member, but you feel like you're emotionally drowning, and you need some air and some space and some time for you. So there's lots of reasons why people might call. It might be personal, it might be something professional. You may be a leader struggling with somebody in your unit, or maybe even with a whole team that seems disengaged. I'd also like to spend some time this morning with talking about this whole idea of engagement. And then I want to talk about leadership. I like to have partly as a focus for the show what it takes to be an effective leader. I have an article coming out in a journal coming out of the United Kingdom called Human Resource Director, and it's going to be published in June. And I'll talk a little bit about what's in the article. I really like talking about, writing about, teaching about leadership as well as emotional intelligence. So the show's about helping you identify what you are feeling, helping you understand how feelings impact what's going on in your life, and that how sometimes the feelings you have are very helpful, and at other times they may be problematic. And if they are problematic, I like to think of myself as someone who can be as kind of like an emotional guide for you to explore this idea of a roadmap. How do you get from one emotion to another emotion that's more helpful? If the emotion you're feeling currently is confusion, is doubt, is fear, is there something I can do to maybe change those emotions to something more useful in your current state in terms of what you want to achieve? So the number to call, and I'll give the number several times, because sometimes we find people are brand new to the show, and it feels like destiny to them. They're driving by, they hear this person. Again, I'm Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel, and they're stuck. And often I find smart people get stuck when something emotional is in play. When strong emotions are either inside you or in people you're dealing with that you care about, or maybe that you love, or maybe you don't even like, but you need to care about because you work with them. When strong emotions are in play, sometimes we get stuck. Smart people get stuck when something emotional is happening because we don't have a lot of good education about how to change emotion or how to influence emotions. Most of what we learn about emotions is all hit or miss, folks. It's all trial and error. And we've learned a few things that work, but it doesn't really cover the waterfront in terms of what we're learning about the science of emotional intelligence can help each one of you. And that's one of the goals for the show, is to help each one of you as you listen to anyone who calls in. I'm hoping everybody learns something about how emotional intelligence works and how this emotion roadmap can be a key part of everybody's life going forward. Everyone that wants to listen. I guess nothing in life is totally free. So for WPKN to be on the air, it costs money. But I do the show as a volunteer, and so many people that are at WPKN, all the programmers are volunteers, and we have many staff members that come in and volunteer the time. But we also need donations from people to help to keep the operational expense at bay so we can stay on the air for another 50 plus years and provide you shows like this that are designed to help the community out. And so, again, the number to call if you've got something you'd like to say to me about something in your life that you're struggling with, that you need some help with, a conflict at home or at work, something to do with leadership in your community or at your workplace, something to do with a relationship, either, again, at work or at home or any place. Give me a call at 203-336-9756. I'll say it again. 203-336-9756. And one more time, 203-336-9756. Now, sometimes I find that on beautiful days, like the one we're having in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where it's sunny out and people haven't been outside for a while, and the garden and the yard is asking you to please take care of it. That maybe we don't have as many people listening today as we might other days when it's rainy outside and people got the radio turned on as they're doing things around the house. But maybe you've got your radio on outside and you have your cell phone with you. Pick it up and give me a call if you've got something going on that you'd like to talk about. Again, 203-336-9756. So in the meantime, as I'm waiting for you to call, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this idea of abilities, emotional abilities. Most of the time, I think when you have someone in your life that's not doing what you want them to do or you think that they should be doing, or they're doing things that don't make sense to you, that don't seem rational, something emotional is going on for them. And you might think that it's attitudinal sometimes. If somebody is really showing up in the workplace, for instance, and is often sarcastic and treats other people unkindly and, makes a lot of jokes at other people's expense. Oh, we got a first phone call. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Jeannie.
I'm sorry. What?
My name is Jeannie.
Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie. How are you?
Good. I'm going to turn my radio down.
Thank you. That makes life easier.
Yeah. So I do have a situation. It's with my sister. There's conflict over another sister because she has a severe disability. She happens to be my twin, and my other sister hasn't seen her in 40 years.
Okay, can you hold just a second, Jeannie? I just want to I'm not hold, but I just wanted to tell we have another caller who's trying to call in. I don't have anybody helping with the show, folks. So if you want to talk to me after I finish talking with Jeannie, please feel free to call back. Thanks. Okay, Jeannie. So you got one sister that is a twin of yours, and she has not seen the other sister in 40 years. Is that right?
Not the twin is, yeah, my twin hasn't seen my younger sister in over 40 years. I think she has a fear of it.
Okay.
And it interferes with my relationship with my younger sister because as much as the intellectual part of me understands why she can't cope with it, I feel, angry, I feel sad, and I can't talk to her about it. We had a fallout over a whole nother issue a couple of months ago, and I know it's because that bothers me. And to me, it's very selfish of my younger sister not to go see her.
So let me understand this. Yourself and two sisters, one of whom is a twin of yours, and you have you're kind of
The twin is actually the one that has the severe disability. She's in a group home down in Oakdale, Connecticut. Very well taken care of. She's my angel. But my younger sister doesn't seem to be able to bring herself to go see her.
Okay, so your concern, you're upset and angry with your younger sister for not being able to step up and go see your twin,
yeah,
who's
I'm probably more hurt than angry. I get it. It's not an easy. My sister is. She was born with water on the brain. She's in a wheelchair. She's very compromised. She's beautiful. She's got great blue eyes. But, people with disabilities, not everybody can embrace them like I do. I've done my living working with other disabled people because of my twin.
Okay, so let me suggest to you that the whole idea of how this show works and how the emotion roadmap works is, so you're feeling hurt. I mean, it sounds like a little upset, but mostly hurt that your younger sister hasn't gone to see your sibling, your twin, in all these years, right?
Yep.
So let me ask, what would be better for you to feel? Would it be better for you to feel accepting of your younger sister, do you think?
I've gone through periods of acceptance.
Yeah.
And it is a much healthier place for me to be when I'm in that place.
Yeah.
But it's lately because there's been some very happy things happening in my life. I don't know. I'm like all mixed up because when I see her lately, the younger sister that won't go see my twin, it revs up that whole all those emotions of hurt, and it gets in my way. I know it does.
Okay, so let me explain, Jeannie, that there's two ways to possibly help you. One,
hear it. Yes.
One is you have had times, you've told me already, where you have been more accepting of your younger sister's behavior, right?
Yep.
So one thing that we could explore a little bit is like, so what's triggering your lack of acceptance at this point, and is there some way to get back to being more accepting so you feel better, even though nothing's changed? It's really, that's all inside your head, and the good news about that is you control that. I mean, okay? So
I agree, but lately, so I saw my younger sister 2 months ago, and we had lunch with friends we grew up with that, lived across the street.
Yep.
And she told, my younger sister said, lighten up. And as soon as she said that, that trigger went. And I know and I wanted to react in a different way. And I blurted out, you're so selfish. And it just I go back to that adolescence that, when we were growing up.
Yep.
And I know I feel a little surreal, like I see it happening, but it really is so deep in me not to react.
So let me before I say anything about that, let me just say this to you about the other choice, because one choice is just to help with what's going on inside your own head, right? The second choice is to try to understand a little bit more about your younger sister and why she's struggling with this, and to possibly help her to struggle less with it and maybe even visit. Now that's probably not going to happen given 40 years.
No, it isn't.
But maybe
we're not talking right now.
Oh, okay. But maybe we could just explore a little bit about why you think she has such a hard time with visiting your other sister.
Okay. So we were born in 54. She was born in 58. She personally believed on some level it was her fault that Mary went into, a training center, Mansfield. And we all know that's not the reason. Mary had a lot of medical issues that my mom couldn't tend to anymore, and the doctor back then, that's what you did. You went into like Southbury or Mansfield Training Center, and we saw her every weekend, with my family. My dad drove us all there. I'm sure she feels like it was her fault, and I'm empathetic to that, but, it's time to grow up and lighten up yourself, and just do the right thing.
So let me. This is actually going to be the topic of my show anyway. I was going to talk about something about emotional abilities.
I'm stuck.
Yeah, and the stuck piece I know is what you responded to, but this is something I haven't said yet. So let me say this. This is for everybody, not just for you, Jeannie, but I think it'll help you understand a little bit about what's going on. So your sister, your twin sister, has some physical disabilities, very obvious to you and to your younger sister.
And cognitive, too.
And cognitive, okay.
She functions as a 2-year-old.
Got it. So, and you're extremely accepting of that, and you have been all these years. Right?
Right. Yep.
You call her your angel, and you go and visit, and you deal with that.
Oh, yeah, I see her all the time, yeah.
Now, your other sister, your younger sister, you think that her lack of going to see your twin is somehow attitudinal and immature, and that somehow she needs to suck it up and just be stronger and better and more able to go see before there's no time left on the planet.
Exactly.
That somehow that they should reconcile, and that
make amends with it. My older brother hadn't seen her in 50 years. He finally went to see her about 3 years ago. I mean, it's time. It's just like we could be a happy family together, and you're avoiding her for what? I don't know.
Well, let me just ask you to listen for a minute. Let me just. No, that's okay. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on, so I get that. But I want to say something that I don't think most people understand, and I think it may have an impact in this situation here. So,
I hope so.
Well, one of the things that I want to just let me just talk a little bit about this idea of having an emotional intelligence and what that's all about. So what's these psychologists discovered is that we have abilities called emotional abilities. And those abilities are different in all of us. So some of us recognize right away what another person is feeling. We're really in touch with that. We're very good at it. We're very accurate in our perception of other people's feelings, and also our own feelings. And some of us are very poor at identifying other people's feelings. So that's just on the identification of what a feeling is that somebody's experiencing. Some of us are really good at seeing it, and some of us are not. The second skill
I
set.
believe in emotional IQ. There's a book out
No,
there.
no, 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 no. Let me finish, Jeannie. I appreciate it if you wouldn't let me just go all the way through this, okay?
Yep.
Okay. So the second skill set is this idea of using emotions. That is that there are certain emotions that are particularly well suited for a certain task than other emotions. So that if we don't, if we're smart about what we want to feel, and we have something important coming up, and let's say we want to feel confident and we're feeling anxious, that we know confidence is the better feeling, and so the third branch of these abilities is understanding emotions, and if we know how emotions work, we can think about how to change from one emotion to another. If we have that skill set. Now the last branch, and maybe the most important, is this ability to manage emotions. And it's ability to manage our own emotions and our ability to manage emotional relationships with others. And I'm going to suggest to you, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to suggest to you that your younger sister has disabilities too. Not obvious disabilities, not physical disabilities, not cognitive disabilities, but emotional disabilities. And if she has the inability to manage her own emotions around your twin, if she is unable to change anything to do with that relationship with that twin, and you're not being empathic and supportive of her disability because you don't recognize it. You want her somehow to ignore this fact that all these years she's felt somehow responsible, and she can't get past it. And it's not because she doesn't want to, and it's not because she's a bad person, and it's not because she's immature, and it's not that she's not a grown-up. She just doesn't have the emotional ability to manage her own emotions in the same way you do.
Right.
And if it's a disability,
totally
if it's really something that she can't do, Jeannie, then I think you've got to stop feeling like she needs to, because she can't. And if she can't, that's different than she won't. Do you understand?
Right. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right about that, but over 40 years, if she hasn't gone to see your twin and she can't get past the fact that she feels somehow responsible, I mean, maybe it's something a therapist could help with. I don't know. But if I do recognize, and this is the point I wanted to make for everybody that's listening, is we all have emotional abilities, and we are different in those abilities, and those differences matter. Those differences might be why you're able to see your twin and feel like she's an angel, and you want to go and support her, and she's just as much a part of your family, even with all her limitations. But your younger sister can't, because she doesn't have the emotional management of her own emotions ability to be able to carry that out without suffering great, enormous personal pain.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. No, it's a good way. It's a good viewpoint to have, a healthier one for me.
Because
I feel
if
my body softening up, because when I was talking about it, I was on the verge of tears. When you're making it more rational like that, and
assuming I'm right, and she has an inability in this area, can you be compassionate towards her in the same way you are towards your other sister?
I'm trying. Yeah, I am trying. I wouldn't have called you if it didn't bother me so much.
No, I understand. But if and I can't say for sure that I'm right about this, but chances are I'm probably, on track here, that she has less ability to manage her own emotions, and that's why. I mean, if you think of her as a general, in most situations as a good person, a good family member, but she just can't do this, and you get mad about it because that every once in a while you're, on your good days you're accepting, and then when she said something the other day and it triggered something for you, and you reacted to it, and you viewed her as selfish. If you view her as selfish, then you've stopped thinking about the possibility that she might have what I call an emotional disability, kind of like people have learning disabilities.
Yeah.
If she has an emotional disability in that she can't manage her emotions very well around very stressful personal situations, and she does, it's everything she can do to just, keep herself together around most of the stuff that happens in her life, that going to see this twin of yours that she somehow still feels responsible in some way, it just kills her every time she even thinks about it, then the nice thing to do is don't bring it up.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to reframe it. Yeah.
Does that help?
It reframed it. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling, Jeannie. I appreciate the call. And again, hopefully everybody's learning something as we go through these conversations.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have a great day now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I hope everybody got that idea that sometimes people don't always do things that we think they should do. Not because they don't want to, because they're unable to. Isn't that interesting, right? It's one of the things I write about in this journal article. Now, very few people are talking about this way. I mean, when I realized that that we have this science of emotional intelligence, and that people really can be you can actually be measured on these abilities. You can be measured on your ability to identify emotions, your ability to use emotions intelligently, understand emotions, and manage emotions. We got an ex-caller. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, Chuck, this is Dennis. You've spoken to me a couple of times in your last couple of shows,
Hi, Dennis. How are you?
I'm good. If it's okay with you, I just was going to give you sort of the latest on that situation I had been telling you about that tough breakup that I had gone through 2 months ago,
Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's maybe the downside of Facebook. Thank goodness, I guess the realizations that I've been making in the last week or two have kind of helped me a little bit to come to terms, with the pain of this breakup. But what has happened out of it actually is that the girlfriend I told you, who had broken off with me,
right,
had asked me at the time that we parted, if I minded if she kept in touch with my friends. Or I'm not sure she asked me. I think she said, I'm going to keep in touch with your kids. I hope that's okay with you.
Okay.
Well, what's become apparent to me at this point is that 2 out of my 3 daughters, who I don't want to get into the details of it, but, who suffered some abuse as children at the hands of either family members involved in this and whatnot. They've always felt, I guess, that was never handled very well at the time. And apparently harbor a great deal of anger, and resentment about that. And so my ex has kind of tapped into those 2 out of the 3. Like I said, my other daughter, is just feels like I'm taking a lot of abuse that I don't deserve here. But anyway, so she's kind of formed a kind of consolidated front there. I guess out of her need to validate how she treated me or how that she broke up with me or whatever, and has. And now it's that my 2 of my daughters have kind of come out and said, well, you're really a terrible disappointment as a human being and as a father, and I mean it just went on and on and on, Chuck, and
wow,
it's been very, very difficult. And of course, I'm looking immediately to see my own fault in this. I'm saying, well, what did I do wrong here? How did I disappoint these people? But I've tried this shoe on for size a bit, and the brush that they're painting me with, it doesn't really fit, I mean, and I realize that a lot of what's coming out is, the insecurities of of this girlfriend I was dealing with, that basically, probably the relationship would have worked if I had given up all my friends that I came into the relationship with, because she found them that threatened, her.
Let me stop you, Dennis, for a second, because we kind of been over the relationship piece, and I think we kind of covered that.
But anyway, so
let me. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Chuck. I would just ask one question, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, what I want to say is I think, so if the focus is about your daughters, that's like, yeah. I think then, this has little to do with the woman that is your ex, and a lot to do.
It's continuing, I guess, because their relationship is ongoing. And I just, it's kind of hurtful. I feel like, hey, you know what? They're all adults. There's not much I can do. And, these daughters I'm speaking of, are into their 30s and one nearly 40, and just again, I feel like there's little points to me, I guess, in even attempting to try to talk to them about this or try to defend myself, because I know, they're just going out there not hearing it. You know what I mean?
I do. So let me stop you again, Dennis, because I got to interrupt you because you don't often leave much room to
go ahead, Chuck.
to say anything. But let me say this to you about it. So in talking with you several times, as you pointed out, I've noticed that you have a lot of things going on, and you want to defend lots of stuff that you've done, and so I don't know how much of it is really defensible, and I don't even know that it matters. That's what's key here, because you dwell on things, Dennis, and you keep coming back to the same stuff, and you keep going round and round, and I think you got to put like a stake in the ground and make some decisions, and I mean I can say that to you, but you're the guy who's got to do them. But the other thing that I'd say to you is, if your daughters had some problems growing up that you said that actually happened, and somehow they see you as a part of that and they view you in a negative light, I think you can say something to them that isn't defensive, and you can say, what can I do to make it up to you?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all. Because as soon as you go into defending, you're in trouble. I mean, they're just going to, but if you simply say, is there something I can do? Because I'd like to make this up to you. Is there something you need from me that's different than the way I'm acting with you these days, that you'd like to see different? Please let me know what it is, and I'll try and do it.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that, Chuck. I mean, I agree with you. I wasn't so much maybe even talking about trying to defend myself to my daughters. I'd feel kind of upset and hurt and sad that my former girlfriend has done this. Has kind of reached out to my kids and kind of polled them to see.
Let me stop you again, Dennis. You talked about wanting to be friends with this woman. That's the way we ended it the last time.
Right.
And to forget about having a relationship with her.
Yep.
You're dwelling on her so much. I don't think you can even be friends with her. I think you just forget about her.
Yeah.
And because Dennis, this is consuming your life. I'm guessing it's keeping you up at night. You're thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, thank God I've kind of really returned to my practice of meditation, and that's been helping me, a great deal. But it's like in the last couple of days since this came to light, the level of hurt has really deepened from just losing my girlfriend to now my two daughters kind of turning on me.
As I said to you, let go of the woman. Disconnect from that, and don't talk to your daughters about this woman. If they want to bring something up about it, just say, I think I can't have a relationship with her, so I really don't want to talk about that. But if we want to talk about our relationship, my relationship with you, I want to know what I can do to make things right with you. That's all I'd like to talk with you about. I don't want to talk about her anymore. And then you just like... Dennis, I mean, you called I can't be a therapist, so but you do need to move on from this, and maybe you do need to talk to somebody professionally about it, but I think you just got to let go, because you keep coming back around and around to the same stuff. I mean, it may sound a little different to you. It doesn't to me.
Right, I hear you.
It's the same stuff, and now you're trying to, now you got a different angle because your daughters are involved, so you think you can talk about it again. It really, let go of the relationship. I don't think you can be friends. I don't think you should continue anything with this woman. Mm-hmm. I think you need to just get on with your life, and if you find yourself going back and forth, then meditate more if that's what works for you. But with your daughters, I wouldn't say a word about this woman. If they bring it up, say, you know what, I'm trying to let go of that relationship, and I'm trying to move on, so I'd rather not talk about it. But if you want to talk about our relationship, me with you, I just want to know, what can I do to make things right with us? That's all, and then keep it at that.
Right. Yeah. No, I do appreciate that, Chuck. I really do, because I'm trying real hard not to stay stuck. And again, I thought I had let go of the whole thing, more or less.
Apparently not.
No, I mean, it seemed like things were getting better, but then this came around like a boomerang and brought it all back up again.
I see. Yeah. No, I mean, it's another trigger. But as I said, the woman's going to, you've got this kind of relationship that is like, she won't let go either. By staying in touch with your kids, she's not letting go either. I mean, I'm not saying this is all on you, Dennis, but I'm saying for you got to just kind of, when somebody's interacting with you and they get a reaction, it's like a game, and it's like the game keeps going every reaction they get. Right. If they stop getting any reaction from you, if with your daughters you shut it down so that your daughters don't go back and say something to this woman about what you said about her.
I've done, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just kind of, not angrily. I mean, you can't.
Dennis, you can't say a word about her. I mean, you can't. You just have to say, "I really don't want to talk about this."
Yeah,
And just
but I'm saying, Chuck, even with my feeling towards my children, I mean, there's all I can really feel for them is a tremendous amount of love and sorrow that any of this stuff ever happened in the past. But and that's my primary concern. Over all these things they've said to me or written to me, I can't feel hurt about it. I can't feel angry about it. I just feel very sad about it. And
so, what did I tell you to do?
yeah, no, to perhaps reach out to them, offering to try to do whatever it takes to make them feel better about the situation.
And just say, I'm really sorry you feel the way that you do, and I own some of this, obviously, and I just want to go forward and figure out what we need to do. The best therapy for folks sometimes is trying to deal with the past is to recognize that the past sucked at some level and some things that didn't go the way you wanted, and instead of dwelling on it and saying, I wish I could have fixed this, that, or the other thing, is what you got is the future is in front of you, and what you got going forward is what can I do in terms of a positive step so that every time you talk, you don't get sucked into talking about things in the past, and you certainly don't want to talk about this woman and say anything other than I don't want to talk about this woman. I just want to talk about us if we're talking together, and I just want to talk about what I can do going forward that's going to work for you.
No, that's I really appreciate that advice, Chuck, because up till now, I feel like I haven't been somebody who gets stuck in the past or dealt with any of these emotions, which is why I'm calling you. In other words, all this feels very new to me. I don't tend to obsess about things. I don't tend to get caught up in it, but my heart was very, very deeply involved in all this. So it's been very, very painful. But I've decided, again, in terms of that relationship in the last bunch of weeks, to just kind of keep moving forward and just, kind of moving ahead, taking all that energy and kind of reinvesting it in feeling better and in my own life. But then, like I said, this only came up to my kids in the last 2 days or so, and it's just like thrown it all back, in an uglier light than it was in before. And I'm just like, I can't get away from this thing,
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have one strategy that works. That's your meditation, and if you can listen to the words that I said about keep moving forward, don't talk at all about this woman anymore. Just keep shutting that down, and just keep focusing on with your kids. What can we do going forward to make this better, and what can I do?
Yeah.
I think you got a good
much
plan.
Appreciate that, Chuck. Hopefully, that's the last time I'll be calling you.
Oh, that's okay. All right, Dennis. Good luck. Take it easy.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so, I mean, sometimes you're stuck and you're really stuck, and then even when you try to get unstuck, things keep coming back and biting you in the fanny. It's hard to let go of things, that's for sure. By the way, Dennis has, got something going on that if you've listened to the show, they've called a few times. But it's, a lot of us do. A lot of us have things in our life that we just can't seem to let go of. And rationally, it makes sense to let go of things at times, but boy, sometimes it's hard. And part of it is like, there's an interesting concept about feeling something is better than feeling nothing. And even if that something is negative, it's better than not feeling anything at all. And so when we have somebody fan the flames and our adrenaline's rushing, sometimes we get addicted to that feeling of just wanting something to happen that is going to keep us feeling engaged, feeling, alive. Even if it's negative, sometimes we react that way. So that leads me to something else I wanted to ask listeners about today. And I want to thank Jeannie and Dennis for calling, and anybody else. I'll repeat the number for you, 203-336-9756, 203-336-9756. So I want to talk about this idea of being engaged. Okay, we got another caller. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Good morning, or actually good afternoon, Chuck. My name is Warren.
Warren, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. What's on your mind?
Interesting listening to your program today. Simply because there's so much that is in such relation that these people have gone through or experiencing now that I've gone through for 40 years. You know, I'm in a better state than I've ever been in my life. It all goes back to 1975. Actually, goes back to 1972 when my mom ended up going in and out of the hospital every 2 weeks for chemotherapy because Hodgkin's disease.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, I was only 11 years old.
Yeah.
But I was never told by my father that my mother was dying. I was never told by my mother that she was dying. I knew she was ill, but I did not know she was dying.
Right.
Now, I'm 55 years old, and I'm the youngest of four.
Uh-huh.
In range, the next one's 4 years older than me, and that's my brother Andrew. The next one after that, my sister. She's 6 years older than me, and my oldest brother Arthur.
Uh-huh.
He's 8 years older than I. Then all of a sudden it came down to where my sister got married in the middle of June 1975. 2 weeks later, my mother passed away. So I was in the house with my dad. My brother, who's 4 years older than me, just moved on to college. He was never home because he was working 3 jobs, going to see his girlfriend in Boston where she went to school every weekend. My sister, obviously, she just got married. She was out of the house. My oldest brother, he had just recently, he's been out of the house for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
So it was down to my father. Like I said, there was never any discussion. I was never told anything about my mother's illness. There was never any discussion about it in any way, shape, or form. And the day my mother died was in the middle of the night. My father came to the bottom of the stairs. My brother Andrew happened to be home, and he just set up the stairs. Boys, I just got a call from the hospital. Your mother just passed.
Okay.
End of entire subject. Nothing ever came beyond that. And it took me a long, long time. I've seen I've seen several therapists throughout my life, but the therapists were really never got any gain from them as to what was going on with me. It took me a long time to realize, and up until just a few years back, that I had harbored a great deal of anger in me because I had a family, and all of a sudden one day the entire family was gone, in essence. My father and I lived in the house together. We got along okay.
Uh-huh.
But that's about all the relationship we ever had. And it just, through the years, it took me a long time to realize I had become my family's psychological punching bag, including my father's psychological punching bag. I was always different than the rest of them because I've always had a very, very high IQ, and I've always had a very artistic and creative ability and talent. My mother recognized that, and my mother always encouraged that with me. But after my mother died, there was never any support for my intellect or my artistic creativity and talent. It was always more of just get a job, shut your mouth, and do what you're told, and that was it. Unfortunately, that kind of lingered along because there was a piece of property on a lake here in Connecticut that my grandfather bought in 1945 that stayed in the family because it reverted to my father. So there was this continued closeness being with my family throughout all these years up until recently. And like I said, it all came down to me harboring an anger because you could never... My father was one, you could never get into a serious conversation. If you tried to speak seriously with him, within 5 minutes of that conversation, my father, I don't want to talk about it anymore, and that was it.
I don't mean to cut you off, but, I don't know, we started in 1972 and my show's only an hour, so I just want to know, what is it you're feeling right now that you'd like to change, do you think?
Well, no, it's the fact that everything now is coming to a change where I've started to recognize things, and the only reason why I've started speaking with you is because I see some correlations between the woman who was speaking to you before this other guy and the other gentleman with his daughter.
So tell me about that. I've got a little bit of the history, so tell me about what's going on for you right now and what you're hoping happens as a result of this call.
Oh, no, I just, maybe I shouldn't be taking up your time.
No, no, no. I'm just trying to understand. So you just wanted to kind of tell us about you have these experiences over the course of your lifetime. I mean, I get it. I mean, and it sounds like your anger was justified, and your support from your mother was real and gone, and people didn't even tell you that she was dying. I mean, and the relationship with your dad was okay, but it wasn't great, and you feel kind of like you were someone that was, for whatever reason, maybe everybody was angry about your mom passing, I'm guessing, and so somehow some of that anger got transferred to you. I'm not sure why, but and so where are you now? What are you feeling now?
Well, where I finally got to, and it took a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
I had become incredibly. I lost all self-confidence. I lost all self-esteem. I've always been very, very good at what I do in my career. I've actually been excellent in what I do. And I always loved giving of myself to other people, extending myself, whether it was my knowledge and my talents, to other people. But I always took, because of the anger I carried with me, I also let, what you mentioned earlier about just recently, the thing of, how should I say this? I always pushed the good aside because I was constantly told, in essence, I was no good. Good people who came into my life, I was afraid to let them in because of the pain that I would feel from my family. So I never let them in, and I pushed the good people in my life away, and I let people who would eventually hurt me into my life. And I guess all I'm talking about is growing and starting to recognize and experiencing things and realizing it takes a lot of effort because you get stuck in, you're really hurt really bad. And it's very easy to get stuck into a situation. It's like the person who is physically abused for a long time.
Right.
And that kind of becomes their normality. And even when they try and break out of it, they end up falling back into it and letting it happen again. And I did that, like I said, up until recently, I realized I've been doing that all my life.
Interesting.
I think I'm just talking in correlation to some of these other people.
Have you figured out a way to move past any of this?
Oh, yeah.
So what worked for you?
What's that?
What worked for you? What made this better somehow?
Well, disconnecting to a certain degree from all my family.
Okay.
I kind of walked away from them all.
Yeah.
I always extended myself to them. I'm not going to get into particulars.
Okay.
And I've always been there for them, and I've always tried to see and discuss their pain.
Okay, but you moved past that, and then what's helped you? So you moved past that. Was that the key thing?
Moving away from them and realizing it took a lot of effort to sit there and go, I fell into a point of going, I'm an absolutely worthless person.
Yeah.
And what it did was realizing, like I said, I finally recognized that all I was allowing was negativity to exist in my life. And pushing away positive people and positive influences and sitting there and going, I can't live like this anymore.
So what triggered this for you? How did you figure out that, did you reach a breaking point where you just had either you're not going to...
You know what the breaking point was? I used to work for Yale University.
Uh-huh.
And I said to a woman who I befriended there, no sex, no intimacy, just friends. And one day in a private conversation, after a couple of years, I mentioned to her, I said, look, because of your position and stature in a department, you need to stop stealing Yale resources and Yale time because it's having a negative effect on the morale in the department. A lot of the younger people are seeing it, and it's really hurting things. This person claimed a harassment suit against me and then spread a lot of lies saying that I sexually harassed her. So I eventually lost my job because of it. And that really was the key because I was like, I let another person, and a lot of people there were saying, stay away from this person. She's evil. Stay away from this person. She's evil.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, I found out that she was pretty evil. And it pushed me over a hump, and I said, man, what have I been doing to myself all my life? You know, and it was the same time where I said, I looked back and saw such a parallel and correlation of this woman to members of my family.
Interesting.
I said, this is killing me. I'm killing myself by allowing this to continue, because I kept falling back into that position of that place.
Okay, so let me see if I can make some sense out of this for listeners, and
Go ahead.
so for me, just listening to you, and then I'm going to go because I got somebody else calling. But for me, just listening to you, it's kind of like when you recognize that you were repeating the same theme with someone else outside of your family, and it was having the same negative impact on you. It was like a light bulb when, kind of blasted through your brain, just kind of glaring lights shining on, what am I doing to myself? And it was at that point that you decided that, change isn't an option anymore. Change has to happen.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that I think of, years ago when I was a therapist is that you constantly look for themes because, when you are abused, when you are a target, when you are somebody who is told that you don't have much worthwhile going on in life, it's hard to get that message out of your head. But the whole show is about taking the wheel and control how you feel. So let me thank you for the call. And I'm glad that you found some relevance with some of the other conversations. And hopefully everybody got something that says, hey, think about the themes in your life. And if they're not playing out the way you want, maybe you want to change some of them. Okay?
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the call.
Thanks for taking thanks for allowing me to take your time. Have a good day, man.
You too. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Hi, Chuck. This is Jerry from Trumbull.
Hi, Jerry.
I just wanted to make a statement that could perhaps help out. I think it was Jeannie who was called a little bit ago. I didn't have the radio on, so I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation, but I am also a twin. And my twin also has developmental disabilities with an IQ of about 69. And similar situation, a brother who's 3 years older had not had any contact with her for about 18 years. And so I just wanted to validate what you had said earlier with regards to people not being emotionally stable or possibly not even in the same emotional state as you are.
Yeah, what I was saying was something along the lines, Jerry, that this idea of emotional abilities, that I actually think there were some things that were, at some point we're going to start defining people as having emotional disabilities. And then it's if you realize somebody can't do something, is not able, as opposed to just won't. Because you think,
Exactly.
when you say won't, it sounds selfish. When you say they aren't able, then you can feel some sympathy for them.
Right, and that's exactly what happened with me. I had just found out about 7 years ago that my brother is not emotionally able to handle any of that, and I took him in to live with me for a little bit, and I felt strongly that he might even have a form of Asperger's that we never knew about. And so for all of those 17 or 18 years, I felt the same way as Jeannie did. Why can he not even communicate with our sister? She needs him. But I did find out, obviously later on in life. But I just wanted to share that because I just thought it was wonderful, the statements that you put out there, and hopefully this will help her as well.
Thanks so much, Jerry. The whole idea of us being a community radio station, when people call in and support one another, makes it feel really like a community. So thanks a lot for the phone call. I appreciate it.
I totally agree. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Okay, take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody, thank you for listening today. It's been listening to Chuck Wolf, Take the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. You've been listening to WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, serving Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield counties in Connecticut, Suffolk County in New York, and communities around the world via podcast and streaming at WPKN.org. If you tuned in and you missed part of the show, as Jerry did, then you can listen on the archive, or you can go to the website, wpkn.org. And in a few minutes, our General Manager, Steve DeConstanza, will help me put this up on SoundCloud and on iTunes and on Stitcher. So you all have a great week and enjoy the good weather while we have it. It's nice to see the sun. And thanks, everybody, for calling in, for tuning in, for listening. And I'll be back with you on the first, second, and fourth Wednesdays of every month. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.